push, push in the bush. South Africa. A talk with Gerald Bailey. What's up, folks? Justin Garcia, a.k.a. Master Chim here. And I'm here with the White Bush. Patrick Kelly.
Yeah.
White boy Pat.
What's up? That's where I was going.
We were both
yeah,
there.
that's why I was trying not to laugh.
We were both in the White Bush.
We're both in the White Bush. Correct.
Welcome to another episode, brothers. Today we got a treat for you. I managed to work my way and navigate through the bushes of South Africa.
Nice.
To make the acquaintance of a pretty cool dude.
Yeah.
Gentleman by the name of Gerald Bailey.
Very cool.
He's a native South African from Rhodesia.
Yes.
He's Rhodesian. It's pretty much where Zimbabwe is now.
Zimbabwe.
But cool dude, squared away individual, as we like to say, firearms instructor, father, husband, homeschooling dad, businessman, knows what's going on, has been around for a while, and is aware of the state of affairs in South Africa.
South Africa.
Yeah, he has that's not bad, but it'll be Scotland with you in another 3 sentences.
Oh, I'm telling you, I can do it.
All right. So, but you're black.
But you're black.
But you're black.
You're black, bro.
Was it Lethal Weapon?
Lethal Weapon 2.
All right. So, Gerald, I made the acquaintance through a listener, right? So we had a listener of the podcast, a dude by the name of Gareth. What's up, Gareth? And he and I were talking about some things concerning the podcast. That segued into a talk about, what was going on in South Africa. He also being of South Africa. And I asked him, well, I'd like to, would you like to come on and talk about it? And he said, you know what? I have a friend of mine who was probably a little bit, better qualified, a little bit more invested in these topics. And he hooked me up with Gerald, and, we Facebooked back and forth and found out a time we could talk. He agreed to do it, obviously. And eventually we made it happen.
Yeah.
And, it's 2015. I'm pretty technologically savvy, I would say. I'm still amazed, though. Like, every single time we connect with somebody through the podcast, like the other side of the planet.
Very cool.
It always impresses me, So I'm still enjoying the process, of doing this, and it's pretty cool. We had a great talk. We covered a lot of different topics. And I will say, how long was the talk?
An hour and 12 minutes.
Right, an hour and 12 minutes. So we were on for a bit. But you see, Gerald is, he knows what's going on. He knows, and you'll be able to tell, there are some things that I could not pursue, probably to the level I would have if, let's say, he was anonymous. Let's say, like, we just put him on, he was anonymous.
Yeah. I
could probably be aggressive with. But he's still there. He still runs a business there. And, my purpose was to get information that we may otherwise not have access to. But there was certainly some points there where I didn't want to jam him up, so we kept it moving. But he was very, very, open, very knowledgeable, offered a lot of information. And later on, towards the end of the podcast, we get into some other stuff that really
very cool
isn't,
stuff.
Isn't limited to South Africa, and I think you guys will enjoy too.
Yeah.
So check that out, and Pat and I'll see you on the other side. What's up, folks? This is Justin Garcia, aka Master Chim, and I'm here with the Pressure Project podcast. And on the line, we have a special treat today. Friend to the podcast, Mr. Gerald Bailey. Why don't you say hello to the listeners, Gerald?
Good evening. Hi, everybody.
All right. So Gerald is from South Africa. And Gerald is a busy man in his part of the world. And for our listeners, Gerald, do me a favor. Just let us know who you are, what you do, what you're about.
Oh, sure. Well, in a nutshell, I'm an ex-Rhodesian that's currently occupied Zimbabwe at the moment. I'm very blessed to live in Cape Town, which is very well run. Here in the south of South Africa. I'm a proud father of 3 and have a wonderful Italian wife. And I own lots of guns. And I run a small company called Wolverine, We do tactical gear. We develop new products, and we started the sport of airsoft. And then I'm a international weapons instructor as well.
All right, very cool. So how now you were obviously Rhodesian. You've been through a couple of changes through the society there in South Africa. Let us know what it was like growing up there. And now I'm assuming you're around my age. I'm 40.
I'm 42
around,
now.
Yeah, so around the same age. What was it like being a young man growing up there? And what changes have you seen over the last, since '94?
Well, look, we left Rhodesia when I was 3, so I've got scattered memories of it. But one of the things was definitely stunning. It was what they called it, Africa's breadbasket. I mean, if you threw a seed into the ground, and the next day, literally, you practically had a tree bearing fruit. I did my schooling through, again, inverted commas, the apartheid system, and it was tough. It was a tough schooling system, but we produced some of the top academics in the world. We innovated. Since I was in the military before '94, post '94, sure, it's quite an in-depth question. It's things have not gone as they should have been, shall we say? I think unfortunately the country was given to the current regime, and they were given it on a golden plate. They had a functioning country, and literally everything was given to them. And unfortunately, I believe they've dropped the ball, and they've followed suit with our dear friend, old nutcase Bob Mugabe. And in just blaming the whites, blaming the colonists and all that, and then just joking about it and just saying the whites must get out. So it has been a bit disheartening seeing the country go down so rapidly.
So since then, since the changing of the government from I guess de Klerk to Mandela, it's have you seen, because I know almost 500,000 whites have migrated out of South Africa since then. Is that something that is noticed, that many whites, is it part of the culture of the whites that are still there? Are they moving back to other countries, or I don't know if moving back even applies, just moving out of South Africa?
It's not something I've really followed. I know in Australia, I mean, there's a South African contingent there, where they have their, we call it a braai, it's a barbecue. It's a very South African feel there. In England, there's quite a big South African contingent there. It's as I said, I don't really follow that, the mass migration. In the police, when I was, interacting a lot with the specialist branches and that, I know when my friend left, he mentioned that 20 operators left at the same time, which is huge. It's massive. So there's definitely what we classify in this country called a brain drain. The people who have actually got brains and they're getting out.
Right.
So we are losing a lot of our doctors. I know a buddy of mine, good friend of mine, is a firearm owner. He's off to Canada now. It's taken him 3 years, but I mean, it's the sort of guy that if you get shot, you want him working on you.
Right. And have you noticed? Because I'm as an American, what I get exposed to is I get the stories of Mandela, the Nobel Peace Prize winning, civil rights leader. Mm-hmm. I get the evil apartheid-ridden government. But since that change occurred, I also, am privy to statistics and reports of migration and crime, rampant crime. And, one of the things I know was this thing that kept reoccurring were these farm murders and what have you noticed by way of crime or the quality of life, or you as a white South African, where has your experience changed?
Well, when I left the military, I got into nature conservation. It's a course at what our college would be. It's a very tough course to get into, and I got into it, qualified. And with specialist military branch behind me and conservation and everything like that, I mean, I was literally told, thanks for your CV, but you're a white man, and it gets put into file 13, which is the place where nobody ever looks.
Right.
So there's definitely a lot of that. Just getting back to 94, there's a lot of misconception about Mandela. My personal thing is, did he do things? Did he do good things? Yes, he did. He did do some fantastic things. But you've got to remember, and I think this is what is kept out of a lot of the media, is that he was charged in a court of law with over 150 counts of terrorism, murder, stuff like that. And, that's not publicized. And he was a qualified lawyer, so he understood exactly what his charges were. And he pleaded guilty to every single one of them. So it was a justice was ruled on him, and he was sentenced to prison. And funny enough, actually, the Europeans were astounded. They were absolutely astounded that he got such a lenient sentence. He was never tortured as well. He was never touched.
Right.
And I think there was some guys in the States that actually said, well, if he was in the States, he'd be dead. Plain and simple.
Right.
So, you got to put the man into context. I saw an interview with him on TV where he was openly asked. They said, you were a bomb maker during your struggle years. Do you feel sorry for it? And he said, no, I don't. No problem whatsoever making those bombs and killing innocent women and children.
Right. I recall a quote from his wife of the time, Winnie Mandela, referring to her necklaces will free the country.
Yeah.
Necklaces referring to the tool or the method they used of pretty much torturing people to death.
Yeah. Necklacing is well, for your viewers or for your listeners, necklacing is you take a car tire or whatever tire, and you douse the beaten down person who's already been beaten with stones or sticks or whatever they can lay their hands on. They put this tire over, they douse him with petrol, and they burn him. Literally, you get burnt alive. You remember, there's Winnie Mandela. There's another kettle of fish. She was actually convicted in a court of law and charged with murder and found guilty. And she just refused to go to jail. And she's never spent a day in jail. But one thing why they do necklacing, why they burn, is because they believe that if you die in a fire, you don't go to be with the ancestors. So that's why it's such an effective tool used to control the masses. And you still see it today. They use it, a lot today. In the xenophobic attacks, they use it. It's a very unpleasant way to die.
So they are still burning people to death with tires today.
Oh yeah, no, flip. There's a mistake that the Western culture, shall we say, uses when dealing with Africa. Democracy will not work here. It can't. For the sole reason is that you've got tribalism, and the tribes that's where it reigns and rules. Because if your chieftain, whoever he is, and it doesn't have to, we're not talking mud huts now, but it's the chief of your kind of tribe, the Zulu, the Xhosa, whatever. If he turns around and it's a blazing hot sunny day, and he says it's raining, everybody turns around and goes, it's raining. And if you debate him, they'll probably just kill you. It's a very violent culture, very violent.
Now, with that type of mindset, following one's tribal leaders, I know that the leaders of South Africa have experienced or have been sort of, accused of, misappropriating, budgets and mismanaging, economies. And I'm trying to make it sound, somewhat politically correct. But do you think there is a resistance to hold leaders accountable because of that aspect of who they are as a people?
Yes, I think so.
Or they just not give a shit?
Well, yeah, you're right on both sides. You see, also another thing is within their culture, it is, especially the Xhosa. The Xhosa, the history is cattle thieves. And, the thing is that they just turn around and go, well, corruption is a Western thing. It doesn't apply to us. So you understand it. You are governing a country under Western democracy. You can't suddenly bring in, but wait a minute. We have our traditions and cultures. It's like, okay, that's fine. If you want that, go back to your little hockey or your little house and have your cows and pay for your wife in cows and stuff like that. The current dispensation, definitely, they openly mock the taxpayer, openly. The leader was laughing at us in Parliament the other day. He was just, because he stole over 200 million rand, which is what? Call it 8 or 9, or call it $10 million, and put it into his private home. And he just laughs at everybody, and everybody's too scared to actually do something about it. So, there's definitely a thing here in South Africa where if you're part of the ANC and you've got connections, the law doesn't apply to you. And that's that. So, there's definitely the two worlds.
Right. So now where do the whites fit in there? I'm trying to understand now, okay, I'm a white South African. I'm part of the, apartheid era, regime, and it's now post-apartheid. I'm in an ANC-controlled South Africa.
Yeah.
Why do I stay? Is it something like, are you in danger, from day to day? Because I hear about all these attacks that happen in the more rural areas outside of the big cities. But I also hear of people just getting robbed in broad daylight and nobody doing anything about it. What's it like there? Like, why, I'm trying to understand, it sounds like it sucks. Why are you still there?
Yeah. Look, Cape Town is an incredibly beautiful place. South Africa is incredibly beautiful. I've been to the States twice, and within kind of 3 weeks, I'm yucking to come home because there's something, it's something about the bush that when it's in you, it's like when I go hunting, for me, if I don't get a kill that day, it actually doesn't bother me. Okay, I do it to feed the family, but, right. I'm blessed. I've got a friend who owns a very good butchery, but, for me to get into the bush, it's just, it's magic. There's something about being in the bush, that wildness and surviving and stuff like that. There's a lot of opportunities in South Africa. It is an incredibly beautiful area. Why do I stay? I'm African.
Right.
Why?
I get it. I get.
The whites are here to pay taxes, so the ANC can buy stupid aeroplanes and holidays and new presidential jets, and we can give the locals down here in a squatter camp free electricity. So, by the way, if I could suddenly die out, that means we're on load shedding because we gave them Eskom, which is our power company for the country, and they've pretty much run that into the ground as well. But don't worry, our power's closed. I think 400 power stations, and your nuclear ones are leaking. So I think we're in the same boat.
Oh my God! So, at what point does somebody say, you know what? It was a little bit better before when there was apartheid, and it was a little bit better to be, because now what I've heard stories of white South Africans who said, yeah, there was certainly another class of citizenship for black South Africans during the apartheid era, of governing, but everybody tended to get along a hell of a lot more than they're doing now, and we also had a higher quality of life. What would you say to that?
You know, that what you just said, it reminds me of something my mom says. You know, it's children playing in the street, and well, you know, but you and I are both fathers. We have to discipline our children in love, and they need to know these are the boundaries. You don't cross over it. You know, when the Nats, the National Party, ran the country, you know, there were rules and regulations. I grew up where if a policeman stopped you, it was like, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir. I need this. Yes, sir. How can I help you? It wasn't that you're going to be beaten up, but there was that respect. You know, when I was in the military, we could not, you know, some of the guys from further distances, there were special places they could go stand on the side of the road, and a car would stop and pick them up. There was that honor of the uniform. It's
not so much.
The Constitution, as I said, it's the most liberal Constitution out there. There are good things in the Constitution, but unfortunately, a lot of our law enforcement don't know the law, and people. Here's that saying: they literally get away with murder. I think we've got a 3% conviction rate. You know, it's. Some of the stuff is ludicrous. But, you know, you start learning about behind the scenes, what's going on, and, you know, corrupt officials and how things have been allowed to occur and not occur. And, yeah, and I think now we've sold out to the Chinese. So.
Right. So what is the fix? How does this enter into or transition into a better society for everybody involved? Do you think it's going to be possible to have whites and blacks in South Africa function together in another efficient society? Do you see that happening?
I do. Hey, I really do. I mean, I might be the eternal optimist, but you know, it is I do believe it can occur. There's a lot of blacks that, you know what, they just want to get on with their lives, build a family, and love their children, you know, send them to school, homeschool, whatever. It's just and be productive and produce. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, you know, off air, we're number 2 in the world in schooling, at the bottom. You know, I guess that's one of the great failures of the current regime, is that they haven't educated their the children to respect South Africa. Have pride in the flag and hey, that's my country. You don't mess with my country. It's kind of a free for all. And you know, the generations coming up now are, it's I want, and if you can't give it to me, I'll kill you for it. There's no boundaries. You know, they've thrown God out of the schools, out of everything, and it's just this: you do what you want. You know, and if law enforcement catches you. Well, you know, they say when the traffic cop stops you, you put a 50 rand in your license and you hand it to him. If he takes the 50 rand, you're off, you know?
Right.
The bribery of officials is massive. Corruption is rife here. It is, don't believe the media, it is widespread.
Right. So now, it's funny how there are many parallels to what's going on in the United States now. When it comes to certain groups here being raised to not have a respect for police, to not have a respect for, you know, who we are as a nation or as a country at least, and you know, you see it in how it winds up taking these neighborhoods and these groups of people and just lowering the quality of life. You know, crime is up, you know, unrest is up, and it's something that, you know, I remember as a younger man, and certainly when I hear my parents and grandparents speak about times, you know, in the United States prior to these, you know, it just wasn't like that. Everybody respected each other. Everybody respected authority. There was a respect for the uniform of police and military, and it's just not there anymore. So it's interesting that, you know, there's a little bit of a universal, observation there between the two spaces.
No, for sure.
So now, I was going to say, so what was it that was so bad about apartheid? For somebody who, it's 2015. They don't know what the hell's going on. Mandela's a superhero, like in the mainstream media's eyes and in America, because what we're taught in schools, Morgan Freeman played him in a movie a couple years ago, so he's got to be awesome, right?
Watch that movie. Sorry.
So what is, what was apartheid's problem? What was so bad about it? And I don't know. I'm asking,
No, look, it actually goes before that. When Jan van Riebeeck, 1652, Jan van Riebeeck arrived at the Cape, and what happened was, the westernization entered into deepest, darkest Africa, and heaven forbid, we brought the wheel and a house to the continent. And what they did back then was that there was obviously bad things occurred, but I was just talking about the positive. They brought in systems of governance and stuff, and then mutual trade. They'll say, okay, fine, down here in the Western Cape, the originators of original indigenous people of the Western Cape is actually the Khoisan, not the Xhosa. The Khoisan, they say, okay, fine, let's intertrade. I've got a loaf of bread. I need a cow, and we trade that way. Farming implements, and we'll teach you stuff like that. And then as things went along, the locals, it's actually easier just to steal. If I come and ask you for your television, you say no, and you give me an opportunity, it's actually easier just to go steal your TV because I get what I want. So that's what was happening. The original architecture of apartheid was apartheid means separate. You're apart, separation, and it was literally saying, look, okay, you guys stay here, we're going to stay there, Lesotho, everything like that. We will trade with you, like you're a separate country. You self-govern. You do what you want. We're going to have our areas here. These are our rules and stuff like that. Unfortunately, in that culture, there's not there's never been a culture of productivity, development, foresight, pioneering. It's very basic. I should get a death threat for that one.
Well, you know what? Let me ask you, because the way the impression of the apartheid era regime, as given and taught to us, is that there were a native African people who were conquered by whites, and the government was then taken from them, and they were left out of the process. But the impression that is given to us, and I know this isn't accurate, but this is the impression that they had everything. The whites came and took it, left them outside of it, and they just wanted what was theirs returned to them. So not so much.
I think the short answer to that is no. It's like in our school textbooks now, in our schooling system, they say Mandela was jailed for his beliefs. He wasn't jailed for his beliefs. He was jailed because he was a terrorist and he murdered women and children. No, they had nothing. There was nothing. And the first, when Jan van Riebeeck came around, he had originally 3 ships. And if I remember correctly, 15 people of that first landing died. They died of exposure. It's go to somewhere in the States where you've just got just bush and a beach and cold weather and bush that trees that you can't eat from, and it's just tough. And land a ship there, and whatever is on that ship, that's what you've got. It's the ultimate survivor. So no, they had nothing. There was nothing here. If I recall correctly, they barely had fire. So no, we brought everything and developed, because obviously the Western nations had developed a lot faster than the locals here. So no, we didn't take anything from them. Did we conquer them? Well, they weren't here. Literally, the Khoisan were here, and we call them as strandlopers. Strand is beach, loper is a walker. So they used to walk the beach there. They were never kind of in one spot all the time. Why did things turn bad? Well, they turned to terrorism. And as we all know in this day and age, terrorism is, I guess, a bad thing. So we were in a terrorist war, and had to learn very quickly. We had women and children being bombed in marketplaces. My old church, St. James Church, was attacked by I think it was 3 or 4 terrorists with AKs, hand grenades, and the hand grenades had nails taped to them. It was only my good friend, Charles van Wyk, who shot back with a 38 special that stopped the attack and drove them off. What a lot of people don't realize on that attack, I think it was 11 people were slaughtered. A good friend of mine, he lost his mom that day. And the original plan was they're going to close and lock up the church and burn everybody in there. So that's what we were up against.
Sorry? And what they're fighting for is just to, I guess, what is it that they wanted that was being held from them?
To put it plainly, it's like today. It's not University, Cape Town University, Rhodes, Cecil John Rhodes has got a fund there, and he's got his statue. And after 21 years, suddenly some of the black students decided, no, they don't want Cecil John Rhodes' thing there. So they threw poo on and defecated on the statue, and eventually it was taken down to appease them, the little children who just need discipline. And then now they want, the building names must be changed, and they want the whites out of UCT now. So what do they want? They want what the whites have created. And unfortunately, it's like with our power utility, our waterworks, our military, our hospitals, our schooling, they so badly want to show that, hey, we can do it, but history has shown they cannot do it. We've got to work together. You've got to find common ground. But they're so desperate to show, hey, look, we can do it. But as I say, history has shown that they cannot do it, and they just revert back to their terrorist days. Robert Mugabe, pointing case.
Right. So now when researching, this topic and trying to find out the different groups and where everybody's headed now, I came across a documentary called Orania, which talks about a self-governing, I guess they're vying to be a sovereign state of Afrikaner only people, and I found it interesting that in the documentary, one of the founders, if not the founder of the settlement, said one of the rules is that if you want work done, you can only hire Afrikaner people to do the work. So never again are we going to create this underclass that eventually outnumbers us and takes everything we've built. Is Orania something that's spoken about in South Africa? Is that like a well-known thing, or does nobody even know that it's there?
No, look, we know it's there. Also remember, Orania, that's actually on private land. They haven't taken anybody's land. That is.
They purchased it, right?
From what I've learned, it's what I think one of the guys who stayed there said, there we go, there's X amount of acres, go for it. I don't really move in those circles. It's not something here in the Western Cape. It's not really discussed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So let me ask then. It's because I'm trying to figure out, like, one of my tenets of my philosophy, and certainly one that I share on the podcast, is that ritual and identity are very important. And, the more of a disparity between identities two individuals, groups, ideas have, the more potential for conflict, which I don't think is a controversial, observation. But when applied to these civilizations, people usually find that when everybody's amongst their own people, still dealing with each other, but dealing with each other as individual groups who are preserving their identity, there tends to be less conflict. As soon as we break down those identities and try to meld them into one, you usually have, the clusterfucks that we've seen throughout history.
Yeah.
So how I'm still trying to wrap my head around, where do the white South Africans, see the country of South Africa moving? Like 20 years from now, what's going to be there? Are you going to still be there?
I have a few theories. There's about 55 million people in this country, of which about 3.5 to 4 million are actually paying tax, and that the vast majority of that are whites. I believe the current government they play a game. It's do we wipe the whites out, and get them to leave the country, but then we got no money to play with and play with our toys.
Right.
20 years time, I hope and pray this country has found peace and stuff, and we've got a stable government. I know there's a movement to try and get the Western Cape seceded from the rest of South Africa, which is fantastic, but it will never work. They'll just revert back to their terrorist days, and we'll just have terrorism again here. I know that there is a government-sanctioned genocide against the whites in this country, and especially
explain that. Yeah, what does that mean?
Well, if you look at farm attacks, the police have been ordered not to mention them as farm attacks anymore. It's like an assault, whatever. But it's when you see those images, and I've seen them, and I actually refuse to see them ever, again. I'm actually picturing one now. You cannot understand the brutality of these savages. I've worked in amongst them, as I mentioned earlier, in conservation and stuff, and I've, been out alone and stuff like that. Obviously, I had to be armed. There's no negotiations. There's no discussion. There's no reasoning. There's a wildness, and I'm sure a lot of your troops are dealing with it in Iraq and Afghanistan. When the bad people go wild. It's just there's no discussion. There is nothing. Laws mean bugger all. And that's one of the problems. It's the brutality and the torture. And 80-year-old, your grandmother, and hearing about what they've done, how they've tortured for no reason whatsoever. I mean, what resistance can an 80-year-old woman do? You tell her, hey, sit there and take what you want. But it's
right.
Yeah. But with the farmers, there is definitely a genocide. There's a lot of evidence, well documented evidence. Genocide Watch, the United Nations has now has stated that there is a genocide occurring against the whites in South Africa. It's an unexplainable brutality. I don't know of any cases where you see it in America. I haven't heard of any.
No, I don't think certainly not on that level.
Oh.
It's like I would if pressed to try and find some sort of explanation. I think it lends itself, to the incompatibility of some of the cultures there. I read stories of when settlers first came to America and their interactions with the natives here, and how there was just an almost cold brutality in the natives' way of dealing with people who were in conflict with them, and how it was just very natural for them it wasn't as a big a deal to them as it was to the other side. And I see that in a lot of the assessments of, just like you described, it's like the sheer brutality. Well, I think to some groups of people, it's like, what's the difference? It's no big deal.
No, for sure. And look, I'm not, get where I'm coming from. I'm not saying, the Western culture, we're all perfect and hey, we like the shining knights. No, we make complete stuff ups, for us, it's like, like I said earlier, I mean, I've got a buddy who runs a fantastic butchery, world-class butchery. I mean, he actually does export worldwide. But then in the black culture, where I live here in a middle-class suburbia, kind of more, I guess, white area. I mean, I've had fantastic black people in my road living, and fantastic. But if they were observing their culture, they'll take a cow or a sheep and slaughter it in their backyard and not think anything of it, but,
right.
See, and that's where the incompatibility of the cultures come in. You say, okay, that's your culture, and that's fine when you're out on your small holding out where the mountains roll for years. But here in the cities, we can't do that just because also the health issue, and we want to respect our neighbors. And that's where now we've got their culture being forced upon us.
Right.
So and there is a lack of discipline. Sorry.
And it's just not going to work.
I don't see it. I don't see a middle ground. Where they're saying, okay, let's come to the party and, okay, look, guys, I know this is our culture, but here's demarcated areas where you can do that, where you can do this and that. It's not compatible. And this is going to be highly controversial. I know you can take it out if you want, but their culture is a demonic culture. It is,
I like that.
They're based on. It's based on, demon worship, the ancestors and all this and throw God out, chuck the Bible out, chuck this out, chuck that out. I mean, I know you're experiencing it in your own country now, with your regime. And, it's, and when you're still holding on to that, just even a plain Western culture, which is basically a Christian culture, it can't mix, because there's no mutual respect. One side is always going to be giving in to the other. And, it's the old ant and locust. The ant stores up and the locust comes and steals.
Right.
There's got to be if there's a mutual respect, hey, it'll be, we can definitely work together.
Yeah, I in a more general sense, the way that I've explained it, or the way I observe it is, when you have two identities, they should be allowed to exist as, individual, autonomous identities, but therein lies a problem when one identity's rituals or a tenet of their identity is the utilization of resources of another identity.
No, for sure, yeah.
And that's the problem. For me, if I happen to not be religious, but I don't care if my neighbor worships the devil, but as soon as his devil worshipping involves me or my family, we've got a fucking problem.
Oh, for sure, yeah. It's and you see that's where so we're just talking about the slaughtering of animals. That's where the culture goes over the boundary. It's like my neighbor having a wild drug sex orgy and it's screaming and stuff like that. It's like what you do in your home. Hey, brew, that's up to you. Oh, sorry, brew, that's brother. That's up to you. Right. But now it's affecting my family. I've got children who are trying to sleep. Would you please keep it down? Yes, right. No, and well, then gets escalated to law enforcement, stuff like that. So yeah.
No, absolutely. Well, I wanted to ask too, because I think maybe not, but maybe you have also another unique outlook in that you are somebody who is trained. You are very capable. You are. An instructor in tactical applications of violence, and what is the norm? Like, what is the culture, the gun culture of South Africa? Is it prevalent? Is it frowned upon? Are you in the same predicament that we are here in the States? What's going on there with that?
The farm community here is there's about there's 1.2 million firearm owners, give or take a few. There's about 3 to 4 million firearms in legal hands. Generally, we do stand together. You've obviously got your hotheads that, try to run everything, or, and generally they do a good job in furthering the firearm cause. That organization, Gun Free South Africa, has been completely and utterly discredited, which is a fantastic thing. I think our biggest enemy as a legal firearm community here in South Africa, is we have our local law enforcement, that since 94 have, it's not lost, it's mislaid about 24,000 weapons. If I go and lose one of my weapons, thank you very much. I've now got a state-sponsored, holiday in one of the jails,
Right.
and they'll take all my other guns away. I know of a police reservist. This person has worked with a law enforcement person that has, in inverted commas, lost or been mugged 5 times, and they keep on giving this person another firearm. As a community, we stand together. We have got some world-class shooters here, phenomenal people. The firearm trade took a bit of a dip when our government bought the Canadian Firearms Control Act, which has proved to do absolutely nothing to stop criminal activity. But now things are a lot better. We've got some phenomenal firearm manufacturers coming up. Suppressor manufacturer Numenor, I deal with them up in Joburg. They're world class. I run one of their suppressors on my Glock and 300 Win Mag. And then there's a new group now out of George, Tusker. Have a look at them, Tusker Firearm Development. One of the guys there, brilliant instructor, Andy Fuller. I mean, they've done an M4 variant, which is looking very, very promising. Maybe you can add one to your collection. It's very nice. This is a Eugene Stoner concept. But the firearms community is growing. I'm starting to explore. I'm doing a course now at the end of this month, for ladies. But it's a security course with an introduction to firearms. So it's not a firearm course, but it's showing, hey, this is how we be vigilant but not look like a nutcase. With a beard and tattoos.
Right.
As I look at your picture. But then just say, this is a firearm. I mean, we start them off on 22s. A lot of the ladies shoot. I mean, my wife, she shoots a bit. She can rock that Sega 12 gauge quite nicely. Which kind of scares me. I sleep with one eye open. It's growing. It's a catch-22. The government earns bucket loads of money in taxes on firearm-related products, ammunition, firearm importation. So if they go ban it, there's a lot of money out of circulation.
Right.
But
one of the
community is good. There's more gun shops opening up. As I say, more firearm manufacturers, and again, it's the entrepreneurial spirit. I believe I'm finding a lot in South Africa now with my dealings around the country is expanding greatly. You're getting guys who can't get jobs, and they start thinking, wait, what can I do? And then again, I mean, this Tusker M4 variant and Numenor suppressors. I mean, they're just amazing, really amazing.
They're making it happen.
No, because we had that culture during the we had sanctions against us. I mean, our R4, R5, R6 series. I mean, we call them Canny Doodnies. Canny is you can't kill them. It's like a Toyota Hilux Bucky. You can't kill the thing. I mean, I shot one the other day where the firing pin, I had to kind of jimmy the firing pin and put it back in somehow, and this thing just kept on shooting. So it was fantastic weapons, fantastic.
So one last thing I wanted to cover with you, which is also another parallel, is you guys homeschool, right?
Yep, sure do.
So education, like here in the United States, education is pretty much, it's babysitting, not even done well. And we, my wife and I decided very early on in our marriage that when we had children, homeschooling would be what we did.
Yeah.
And, we're very happy to have made that decision. What's education like there, and why do you and your wife choose to homeschool?
Well, as mentioned, our education system was it was one of the tops in the world when I went through it. So graduating in '91. But back in those days, you still went for jacks. Do you know what jacks is?
I do not.
Punishment with a cane. They whack you with a cane,
Okay.
something like that.
There you go. Corporal punishment. Right?
No, there we go. There's that horrible name. I remember in what was it, history class, Mr. O'Reilly threw a board duster at one of the guys behind me, and it just missed me. And he threw books at people, and it was kind of just, that's the norm. But, it wasn't done all the time, obviously, but the schooling was a very high standard. We've changed curriculums now 5 times, from what I recall, to literally where we are now. You can get a certificate that you've passed matric, you're at 12th grade. But now they want to introduce a school leaving certificate to increase the skills out there of school leavers. But 12th graders graduating now, there's only 20% of them will get jobs.
Right.
So it's very dismal. Homeschooling, when people ask me, why do you homeschool? I say, well, because I want my kid to have a decent education. I mean, my oldest is 7. He speaks a bit of Italian. He can count to 100 forwards and backwards. He enjoys maths, which I don't know where he gets it from, because both my wife and I, we're not really maths fans. Well, obviously I'm teaching them firearm skills. It's on the 22 rifle. He's deadly, you give them daily chores. You prepare them for life. Already now at 7, he's going, okay, what can I make to sell? So he's getting that entrepreneurial spirit going. And with that, you can go anywhere in the world. Our schooling, I think we've in the world, we're number 1 in the highest teenage pregnancy rates. Because
so everyone's getting laid.
Oh, and AIDS and syphilis and gonorrhea and stuff, because obviously the medical is free, and then they get a social grant which comes from taxpayers' money. Unfortunately, these young girls are not being given the skills to run a family, run a home, a lot of them are running homes already because their parents are dead because of AIDS. But
right.
now they do it. They have children for money, which I think is the worst reason to have a child. A child is a blessing, and trying at times, as we all know, as parents. And I think I've got a few grey hairs from that. I've got 7, 4, and 2, and the 2-year-old he's probably going to go into special forces because he's just fears nothing.
My 3rd son, it's the same thing. It's funny you say that. It is funny the way that works. Same exact thing.
Yeah, but my oldest, 7, we always joke, he loves designing. He'll see something in Star Wars and, 10 minutes later, you've got the Death Star in blocks, in Lego blocks. So we always jokingly say, he'll design the aeroplane, and my second child at 4, he'll just, kick the tires and light the fires and jump in and go. He's just also like, yeah, whatever. Let's just do it. So,
that's awesome.
And of course, he's got a broken tooth already and all that. So, but yeah, I don't believe the current schooling model is preparing our children for life, and I want to prepare them for life, to go out and start businesses and employ people and create opportunities and forge ahead and pioneer and develop new things that will, better people's lives, stuff like that. And to be godly warriors, to stand up and when they see that person being attacked, off the line, firearm drawn, and within the law, dealing justice and law and order, because, police aren't doing it on whole.
Right.
So,
you know what? Let me ask this one thing then. do you see, because I see, the beginnings of this here in the States, but, South Africa, you guys are in a much more, I would say, volatile, situation. Do you see the beginnings, the rumblings, or maybe this is fully unestablished, a minority group of people that are more militant from the white side or the white perspective, who want to be a little bit more militant in their reaction to the things they're facing? Are you seeing the beginnings of that there at all? Because I would anticipate it's just a matter of time before people just want to start shooting people.
No, I don't think so. Decent law-abiding citizens, black, colored, white, whatever in South Africa, as mentioned earlier we just want to get on, pay our taxes, get our services, have electricity, water, feed our families, run our business or go to our job and do the best we can in day-to-day life. I see a lot of that, and I think that is more prevalent than this rumblings of third force and people want to take over the country. I think, I know amongst the people I interact with, you just want to get on, be a law-abiding citizen, and be proud of your country and build your country and pioneer for it. I think that is, in what I'm seeing, is far more prevalent. I haven't seen any kind of, we're going to take over the country and all that rubbish. And in any case, right. You look, obviously, having being a gun owner or dealing in guns, the nutcases come out of the woodwork par excellence. And, I've had a few nut jobs, and then you just, hey, buddy, just back off, with the email, sorry, I don't deal with it, please go away. And they go away.
Right. And do you have you personally had to either defend yourself or face robberies, assaults, anything of the like personally?
I've been in some situations. I've done some work with the police where we've had to go in and do various things. It's the Western Cape. If I could send you a picture of my home, I'm a firm believer of the castle doctrine. And
right.
Bar the moat, I've pretty much, let's just say my house, if a criminal is looking at my house, he turns around and looks at my neighbor's house rather. I work from home, so,
it's ready.
And I've got the police here all the time. I deal with the explosive unit, the special forces, so I've got their vehicles here kind of a lot, so if anybody's walking around, he's probably going to see a police van, outside because I'm busy, dealing with the guys and that. And then also, what I teach, is we profile the criminal profiles. It's how you carry yourself, generally, touch wood, people don't, kind of come up, to you and when you look a certain way, if you look like a sheep, well, the wolf's going to come and visit.
Right.
Pretty much that.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. So, Gerald, we're on the other side of the planet, and it's a real treat for me to have you spend the time. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime.
Let my listeners know. We'll certainly put the links, but let my listeners know where they could learn about you, your company, what you're doing over in South Africa.
The two websites is wolverineqtg.com. It's wolverinequebectangogolf.com. And then suarezinternational.co.za. And that's the Suarez International South Africa. There's the Facebook page for both of them. Wolverine Quality Tactical Gear is the Facebook page for Wolverine. We've developed a few products and stuff. I must say I don't really export to the States. You guys have got some fantastic products there.
Right.
Some I have borrowed and redesigned here.
Right. I'm sure you've made improvements. So, it's funny though, but I first, I got the introduction to you through one of my podcast listeners from South Africa. So
Okay.
I'm convinced that there will be some people in South Africa that get to share your power that you shared with us here today.
No, look.
All right, so
It's a lovely country. It's, just make sure you land at the Western Cape Airport, and Justin, you're more than welcome. I'll find a bed for you here. I'll just kick my boys out of their bed, so I'll bugle in with us. But yeah, look, I mean, South Africa is a beautiful country, and there's a lot of good occurring here. There is a lot of good. Unfortunately, again, even in America, everyone sees, the bad, the police are bad, this is bad, but there's a lot of good cops here. There's a lot of good military guys. There's a lot of good occurring here. And it's, yeah.
Well, thanks to people like you. That's pretty much, I guess, something that we can get out of this conversation is that more people need to be like you because you are worried about the things that matter and not stepping on your neighbor's head just to get above, in life. So that's a good thing. It's a manly thing. It's certainly something that we promote here at the Pressure Project.
No, for sure. And unfortunately, just getting back to our liberal constitution, and we've got a lot of pansy-assed males here.
Yeah,
if I can say that here. It really I do my nut. I have little nuclear explosions going off in my head, when I see these guys wearing pink and skinny jeans, and they turn around.
You have that there in South Africa, sir?
Thanks for that export.
Oh my God.
Thanks.
It's an epidemic.
Yes. Yeah. Look, I mean, I've got family members who, the one guy, he towers over me. I think one slap from him and I'll be down. And it's just the one day, it's something, and let's just say, just in case he hears that, in love, I took him down. And
right.
So far, I think it was about 8 years ago, he doesn't touch me. He doesn't touch
right.
me. And he played rugby, football, and it's we've got a lot of pansy-ass males here, unfortunately. And I see some of them, I'm going, oh, man, which way do you swing, brother? And it's like, let's just stay away. And some surprise me, and they're good, godly men and stuff. I guess, as with you, some scare certain people. That's not my intention. But, it's my passion as well as men's ministries and getting these guys, hey, you go hunt for the family. You go bring back that meat. You go
right.
kill that animal and you bring it back and you feed your damn family. You don't go, to the local grocery and like, oh, can I please have a little, a choppy or a, piece of lamb or something like that. You go and hunt it. But you also don't be an idiot, and a cowboy when you go hunt. You respect the animal. God's given it to you to eat. And that's what I'm teaching my boys. I say, that animal is there. We respect it. So as far as possible, we don't want to injure it. We want to kill it outright.
Right.
But yeah,
and that's the way nature goes, right?
There we go. Yeah, in conservation, that's what I had to do. There was animal needs to be put down. You put it down as quick as possible. And that was you had to do it. You want to put it out of its misery. But yeah, there's too many guys that they're too interested in, my iPhone, what's the latest app, and what's this, and what's the latest fashion, and how can I do my hair, and no. But then again, on the other side, you got the guys overcompensating.
Right.
A very good guy you should listen to is Mark Driscoll. He's very,
right.
Pansy.
I've heard of him before.
Yeah, no, he's very, very hardcore stuff. But yeah, we got to stand up as men of the family, and we don't, when that crash goes in the middle of the night, we don't say to the wife, go up and have a look, please. You get up with a shotgun and you go and take charge of whatever is there, and you deal with it efficiently, because if you don't, they're coming for your family. And if you die, well, you've done your God-given duty. You've defended your family to the best of your ability.
That's right.
Boy, as hell, there better be a shotgun in your hand.
It's funny. No matter what corner of the world we are, men know how to be men. you know.
Yeah,
So,
look, I mean, I understand, and I understand where the feminist movement comes from, because you've got men being over men, and overbearing and domineering, and not, loving their wives as Christ loved the church, and they're becoming pansy ass as well,
Right.
So I believe you've got to stand up and you lead your home. And you've got the final say, and there's a hell of a lot of responsibility on that. It's not pushing the woman down. It's saying, I will take this load on me, and I will help you, and I will consult with you because you're alongside me, and we'll share things and that. But when it comes to a violent confrontation, hey, that's when I step up.
That's our role, right?
Yeah, for us, my family, we've got standard operating procedures in a shopping center. If the gunshots go off, I tell my wife, stop, you get into the first shop and you go through people to get to the back. You push, I don't care if you push a granny out the way.
Right.
You go through and you get to the back in safety. And if I'm with them and it's not an immediate threat, I will do that as well. We move and we get out of the way.
It's funny. Most people don't even think of these things because, I myself, my family, we have SOPs we're in the diner, we're in a shopping mall, we're in a movie theater, we're at an amusement park. And, most people don't think about these things because most men are no longer in touch with the things that, the men have always been charged with, throughout time. So it's funny, another universal that we share.
It's also like, carrying a blade. I've got a blade that I carry with me all the time. People go, "Geez, why you carry that?" I go, "Well, I like biltong, beef jerky." My grandfather carried a blade wherever he went. My father didn't. Thankfully, I was, put in contact with some good warriors, and I learned, hey, a man carries a blade like my day-to-day wear, whether I'm at, church, if I'm going shopping, I'm at work, whatever, it is the same, a loaded firearm with spare magazines and a blade and a flashlight. That's just,
absolutely.
My wife doesn't like it. I carry appendix. I don't know about you, but it's like, I'm hugging you and I feel met.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's one of the trade-offs. I'm sorry, that's me.
Right.
So,
and if the time comes, she'll be grateful that that's you.
No, look, she's never said, and this is why I'm really blessed with a godly woman, is she's never gone, oh gosh, no guns and stuff like that. No. It's and it's kind of like, oh, I love her, hey, I'm getting another gun. Oh, is it? Oh, that's nice now, so I've kind of got this, woohoo! Something catches my fancy and like, I think I really need that. And babes, this is the mission it's going to be used on. Oh, okay. Oh, cool. Oh, great. Find my babe at the gun shop, put it down on my name, So, yeah, but my 7-year-old, he's got a K98 Mauser in 308 step barrel. That's going to be built up for him. So, yeah.
Oh, so he's ready to go.
Yeah. Well, it's on my name, but it's young boys. Never deny them a gun. It's teach him firearm usage. Teach him.
Yeah, and it's the way that it's always been. And too many times you'll find in society, you'll find a lot of good intentions that are just running protocols that aren't based in reality, that aren't proven, and oftentimes do more harm than good. I remember a friend of mine's parent were at a function, and my 3-year-old son at the time, he's my 8-year-old now, but when he was 3, I had asked him to pass me a knife, and it was to cut food, and this woman lost her mind. Why would you ask a 3-year-old to pass your knife? And it's like, because my 3-year-old knows how to handle a knife.
Yeah,
he knows how to pass a knife because I've taught him how to pass a knife, and he understands what a knife can do, and so it's something that men have always embraced rather than run from. We can't cover the world in cushions, and we men have always made sure that it was something they've embraced.
No, look, it's like with my boys, whether I've got, it's whatever, my AK or whatever, art and stuff like that. My policy with my boys is, and I've explained it to my wife, it's And I said to him, you can handle any of Daddy's guns, any one of them. You just have to ask. And I think like the one day I was cleaning the AK, and I think it was my 4-year-old. I think he was 3 then. He came in and he said, "Oh, can I hold that?" I put the bolt back. I said, "You see, it's clear." And I showed him the magazine is out, so I'm showing them safety as well. So I'm reinforcing that. And I put it into his arms, and he's cradling it. And literally, it was there for a second. He went, "Okay, that's enough." And I put it into the safe. You know, my oldest, I mean, he's A-type personality. Always, you know, kind of, whenever we go to the range, we're always going through the safety rules and stuff like that. And I say to him, okay, if you go to a friend's house and you see a firearm there, what do you do? He says, "No, Dad, I stop and I get everybody away," and he will get them away. And then he will go and get the responsible adult, and probably knowing him, he'll probably give him a few words as well. But I say to him, if you do give him words, as long as you do it in respect, I will back you up, because what he did was originally wrong, and you saved other people's lives. So, for them, they don't have to go and sneak a look into the safe or try and grab the gun. They know, "Dad, can I see it?" "Yeah, sure." Unload, show clear. They handle it. I mean, even my 2-year-old handles my Glock 19. You know, obviously it's made safe and everything like that, and the sliders strike it down. And he's like, okay, the mystery is gone.
Right.
You know, so it's
right. It's funny the way that works, and most people don't ever even give their children an opportunity to enjoy that process.
No, for sure. The one advice I'd give, you know, I don't know if you've experienced this, and maybe the listeners, is I was teaching my oldest, I think he was about 5 then, a bit of knife fighting, Filipino knife fighting. So I had some boxes. So he's got the real blade, and he's doing the blades, the cuts and stuff like that. So then I gave him a cold steel training blade, the rubber blade. So I'm showing, and then he's, you know, going through the drills and stuff like that. So it's fine. I turned my back on him, and he gave me, what is it, I think a number 3, a side strike right in the glute. Boy, it dropped me to the ground. So we haven't done knife fighting since. I just don't feel like that thing. But yeah,
oh, that's awesome.
They can handle knives.
Awesome.
My 2-year-old handles my Leatherman. You know, I just always go, "Hey, must be careful. And this is how we do this. We don't do that." And the mystery is gone. They know it's a tool.
And that's how the process begins. All right.
There we go. But too many, you know, you get ladies who are, gosh, no guns. And there was one, my good friend Shoal, he was telling me, a lady is, "No, my child will not have a gun, a toy gun, nothing, and that's that." And the one morning he bit his toast into the shape of a gun and went around going pew pew.
Right.
You know, now
right.
I think
it's funny.
She allows him to have a toy gun. But again, that's also the man is not standing up and saying, "I will take the responsibility of teaching my children firearm responsibility."
Right.
So, yeah, definitely men's ministry. It's a huge thing. But you know, with a feminist movement, you know, beating down on the poor man, and it's a tough duty.
It's an uphill battle.
It is, but that's why I also like finding a wife. Some of the listeners, you're looking for a wife, you're looking for a godly woman who, you know, is not trying to beat you down,
right?
But will challenge you as well to make you think and challenge you to lead.
Right.
So,
absolutely right. All right, brother. So let's end there. Again, this has been an incredible talk. I'm so glad we got into the firearm stuff, because that's sort of like a treat. You know, it's really just cool gun talk in a South African accent. So really had nothing to do with South Africa.
I'm neutral.
Right? So powerful shit where that's concerned. Thank you. I enjoy that I have a connection now in South Africa that has guns waiting for me. If I wind up there, and you truly, you are more than welcome. You know, if you wind up in New York at any point, you know, please connect with me, and we'll definitely hang out.
I actually was in New York. I booked my ticket to go to New York on 9/11. And actually, I was going through to my brother in Ohio, and I actually came back, and my mom, I was still living at home, and my mom said, by the way, planes just flown into the World Trade Center. I was like, what? And I saw the second plane go in. I looked at my ticket. I was going, where am I landing? And 3 months later, I was standing in New York. What's your airport? JFK? No, not JFK.
JFK.
Oh, it's JFK. Yeah. Got followed by one of your guys there. Made it very obvious he was following me. And so yeah, no, it was great fun. Got onto a puddle jumper and got out of there. So yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we're it's a little safer now, so feel free. You're in New York. Definitely connect with me. We'll shoot the shit.
Oh, excellent. I look forward. And if you're out here, yeah, we'll go shoot some 300 Win Mag out to a kilometer, and we can't blow anything up.
At least not that we can mention on a podcast, but it's a conversation to be had later.
I've got a friend who, whenever he phones me, he says, "Oh, we're busy testing the 20 millimeter early con system now." I'm like, "Oh gosh, thanks." Eh? He says, "Just hold on, don, off it goes." So, hey.
All right, brother Gerald, thank you so much, man. It's been a great talk, and I will certainly I'll let you know when the podcast is going up. And I hope to speak to you again.
No, please, anytime. It'll be great. I really look forward to it. And thank you very much for your time, Justin.
No, absolutely. All right, brother. Be well. Love to the family, and I'll talk to you soon.
Excellent. Go on, man.
And we're back. So, great talk.
Awesome.
Covered a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff.
Lots of stuff.
Some history.
Yeah.
Some day-to-day observations.
Yep.
Went into, some shooting stuff.
Yeah. Very cool.
What are some of the things you liked about it?
My favorite thing about it is what he talked about with his kids, aside from the South African stuff, like the fact that there's no mystery involved in any of the weapons, and the blades, the firearms. There's no mystery. Like if the kids want to touch something, they ask, so they're not going to run into the gun cabinet, grab the gun, treat it like a toy, hurt somebody. They can see any of his weapons as long as they ask permission, which is cool. Right. I like that. Take the mystery out of it.
Very cool. My probably one favorite, I enjoyed the talk. He's somebody that's very, very easy for he and I to converse, so sometimes these conversations are a little bit more labored.
Sure.
Even if they're powerful, sometimes they require a little bit more effort. With Gerald, that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
He and I got along just fine.
It was very good.
But the one moment that I really enjoyed was when I sort of prodded him, like, why are you staying there?
Yeah.
Like, why don't you leave? And he spoke about, what it's like going into the bush, what it's like going into, the land and being there and how beautiful it is. And, he is at the point where his people see that as their land.
Yeah.
They are South Africans.
Yeah.
And I think that's important because a lot of people don't realize that is a thing.
Yeah. Like he said, when he travel, he still wants to come home. He looks forward to coming home because that's his home.
Right. So I think it's important that people realize with, ritual, so much of your, or I should say with identity, so much of it is, what you're used to. What you're used to, what you connect to, what the rituals are.
Yeah.
And being a part of that scene, being a part of that landscape is something that now has sort of internalized into the people there.
Yeah.
Right. So really good talk. It's great hearing about, what actually was going down compared to what, we were told in schools. And you guys that are Americans, been through the American school system, you guys, I may still have some high school students listening to this. The truth is usually, it begins with two sides of a story.
Of course.
So, and I've learned that as I've gone on, in my adult life, so much of that, the things that I took for granted, I realized that, wait a minute, I have to reassess this entire thing. Because I never heard the opposite side of this. I never heard anybody else's version of this.
Yeah, well, the winners, write history.
Right, the victor, victors tell history. Or history is told by the victor.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
History is written.
History is written by the victor.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually.
Yeah. Exactly. Feminism.
Feminism. Nah.
It's like the boogeyman.
Right.
Doesn't exist.
So when when he and I first started talking about what was going on with the violence, during that transition,
Genocide.
right? It was well historically before the transition away from the apartheid government. I'm pretty much like I want somebody to tell me, and I don't think I think I put him on I backed him into a corner a bit much. I probably shouldn't have, but I wanted him to say, or at least give me a valid reason why wasn't apartheid better.
Yeah.
And it's like I guess you don't say that if you still live in South Africa, and you run a business.
Sure.
So a little selfish on my part, but it's really with all the information I've gathered, I honestly want to know like what about the way the society is right now is better than it was back when you had apartheid?
Yeah.
Because crime is up, everyone's poor. The productivity of the country has gone to shit.
Yeah.
The technology and the cutting edge education and technological aspect of the government is done.
True.
And what I liked was the way he put it. I don't know if you realized it, but he said, back in, when we changed the government, like we gave them a working government. We gave them, it's like one bunch of people handed over South Africa to another group of people.
Yeah.
And the other group of people have completely just mucked it up.
Yep.
Another thing he mentioned was the cultural context of things like corruption.
Yeah. He's saying corruption is rampant.
Right. But he says that the people there, they consider that a Western thing. Like there is no corruption. Like we get what we get. Like, and it's the way we do things.
Sure.
And so it's important that, there are things that we don't even need a value judgment over. We just need to acknowledge the cultural disparity, the inability to be compatible, right? The incompatibility of these two, groups of people or multiple groups of people, right? So it's not as cut and dry and simple as we'd like to make it out to be.
Not at all.
But usually all of the different gray areas involved don't even have any context in what we understand as Westerners.
True.
We don't understand why it's okay for an African tribe to put a tire around another tribe member's neck and burn them, and and we look at it as just an act of brutal violence. But he added the extra thing that we wouldn't know, that when you die by fire in those cultures, you aren't going to meet your ancestors in the afterlife. Like that's an added thing.
I didn't know that.
But a South African would know that.
Of course.
It's a lot going on that we don't know, but it is what it is. South Africa, from every source that I've come into contact with, it said it's going to shit.
Yeah.
How they're going to turn it around? Well, more guys like Gerald will help.
Yeah.
That's a step in the right direction.
100%.
But pretty good. So
awesome.
Pressure player. You gonna say his name?
Yeah. Karel Wilhelm Heinrich Bosef.
Not bad.
Yeah.
As I like to call him, Carol.
Or it might be Karel.
He's probably just Karel. He's like, why do you call me that?
Yeah.
I'm
not Carol.
That was like Transylvanian. I just did right there.
Why do you do this to me? One.
So, Karel Bosef.
Yes.
He is the founder of a state, or they're attempting to be autonomous in every way.
Volksstaat. Gesundheit type.
He formed this Afrikaner only living area, state, city.
Yep.
What do we call it? Commune. Commune's good. Yeah, commune's good. But they're actually, they have their own currency.
They have their own currency, yeah.
Right. So called Oranje. Oranje. Now, Oranje is a Afrikaner only commune,
Correct.
city, state.
They want. Well, I mean, all of the above. It's eventually.
Yeah, but like it's I'm not. I should have a word that I use for that.
It's a commune. Because they own their own land and they're not recognized as their own sovereign state.
They're sovereign. That's the word I was looking for. Sovereign. Yeah. I haven't sparred in like 2 years.
Okay.
Why am I not unable? Look, I'm doing right now. Why am I unable to get the words that I
think
want?
It's because you're just having me find words to make me more powerful. You're just being generous to me.
But I don't want to give you my power.
You're not at all. It's never happened.
So this is about
You're just
you.
making me more
So
powerful.
me not being able to speak is about you.
Correct.
Anyway.
So
the sovereign state
yes.
of Orania was begun by Bosov.
Yeah.
With the hopes of not doing what the Afrikaner people did in the first place. You know, and it's really a move by them to go and be amongst their own people, reestablish their own culture, teach their own history, their own language, and preserve the identity of those people.
Yeah.
Pretty much the opposite of multiculturalism, but pretty much exactly what diversity is. It's something that was frowned upon, is continued to be frowned upon by the greater South African consciousness because it goes against their narrative. One of the things that you heard Gerald talk about, you know, when I asked him about guns and gun culture and, you know, like does the black run South African government like that, you know, you're a white guy with a bunch of guns? And what he brought up was taxes. He was like, well, you know, a very small percentage of the population pays taxes, and of that group, a very large percentage of them are white.
Correct.
So when you have Orania frowned upon by, you know, the government, you have to ask, well, you know, what is all the frowning for?
Yes.
You know, is it that you're not paying? And they do pay taxes. Orania pays taxes to South Africa, but it's a move, you know, in a direction that ultimately you could see they disagree with.
It's private property.
Private property.
Yeah.
And what I saw was a documentary on Orania. I think it was called Orania.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, it was a pretty boring documentary.
Yeah. You spared me. You just basically gave me the rundown.
It's like, man, I wish somebody with a little bit more pizzazz behind the camera did it.
Sure. It was very informational.
Right. It was very informational. I will say that. I will say that at the end of it, and maybe, you know, that's what I got to take out of it. It was very informative. And they have in Orania a safe haven for the Afrikaner people.
Yeah.
In so much that you could show up to Orania with absolutely nothing, and they will promise you a place to stay in the short term, and they will find a way for you to work to earn your keep.
As long as you fit the criteria of membership.
Right. And it is, you have to be Afrikaner, you have to speak Afrikaans.
Yep.
And you have to be, you know, dedicated to working to making Orania, you know, successful.
Correct.
So everybody's got to get off their ass and work.
Yeah.
Now, you know, there are, at one point in the documentary, there was a black gentleman who delivered like potato chips or something.
Yeah. Potato chips.
For like 20 years, he delivered potato chips. And somebody meets him on the outside.
Yep.
And he's like, yeah, you know, this section here is for
the pool.
Like, this is for the pool. This is for the convenience thing. He goes, but, you know, for 20 years, I've been bringing potato chips to the pool, but I've never seen the pool.
Yeah.
But they tell me this is for the pool.
Does he want to go to the pool?
Well, I mean, he spoke, you know, he says, look, you know, they have a right to do whatever they want, but he was like, you know, I would think that I shouldn't be, you know, excluded because I'm black and I'm not Afrikaans. And that's where you really run into the problem. It's not about, you know, why do you like you? It's that, wait a minute, you know, why do you like you and not like me as much, you know? And when you see people who, even here in America, who claim racism, there's a difference between wanting to be separate and exclaiming that you're better.
Yeah.
Right. Saying you should be there, I should be here is not saying I am better than you.
Correct.
Some of the people that say you should be here, I should be here, may say I'm better than you.
Sure.
But it's a separate, sentiment. And Aranya does not say that they're better than anybody else. Whether they feel it or not, doesn't matter. They don't say that. It's not their position. What their position is, and they make it very clear. They're trying to preserve their culture. They're trying to preserve their people. And I think it was, I don't know if it was the documentary or one of the YouTube clips I saw on it. The owner, the founder, or at least one of the people who's in the heads of the.
Well, sons took it over.
His sons took it over.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they have like a council, a council of elders.
Okay.
And when somebody comes in, that's they meet the council.
Sure.
And one of the council members said, Europe isn't our home anymore.
Yeah.
Our people's home. Very, pretty much.
Yeah,
saying
100%.
What Gerald said. Our home is here.
Yeah.
This is our land. This is we're people of this land now, and we need to. If we don't make a move to preserve our identity,
It'll be wiped out.
Yeah, it'll be wiped out.
Yeah.
And it's one thing that people don't understand and respect in a more general sense, and we've spoken about it before.
Yeah.
I spoke about a student who's a black student of mine whose girlfriend is Asian.
You have black students?
I do have black students, and they train on a blacks only mat.
Yeah, that's true.
And he said that his girlfriend's family didn't like him. He's black, she's Asian.
Yeah.
And I asked him why, and he said, because I'm black. And I said, it's not because you're black.
It's not because you're black.
I said, it's because you're not Asian.
Yeah.
Think she's Chinese. Fucking, they all look the same, right? Fucking Chinese.
Korean.
I was
going
going to say Chinese or South Chinese or North Chinese.
Cantonese.
Korean. Obviously, Koreans are
language.
completely different.
You can tell the difference between it.
Of course you can. Being ironical.
Me too.
So with Aranya,
Yes, Aranya.
You see somebody's very, very strong, dedicated, committed move toward preserving the identity of his people.
Yeah.
And it's one to be commended, in my opinion.
100%.
Even I think Gerald made mention that there was a movement to secede the West Cape, the Western Cape.
Correct.
And he said, but if we did that, it would just be terrorism again. And
it would go back to terrorism.
Right. So it's like, how does Aranya not experience that? Well, I guess the fact that they put themselves in a land where nobody was and nobody was living, and Karel Boshoff, he purchased. I don't know if he did it himself or with a group of people.
There was a company formed to purchase the land through like a holding company.
Right. So it was a town. It was an abandoned town that was put up for the workers years earlier for a dam. They were making a dam.
Yes.
Right. And when the dam was built, the people left. The town was left empty. So that's the sort of town that they purchased
for $200,000.
Yeah. And now it's worth a hell of a lot more than that.
Yeah, which is why people are
right.
Some people want a piece of that.
Right. So who's to say what's going to happen? Because with South Africa, there wasn't a thriving, country and economy, before the Europeans came.
Yeah, true.
They're the ones that started it. Well, you look at Aranya, there's a region that, although in South Africa, was uninhabited and is being made to be something more. At what point do, the multiculturalists, the race baiters, all these egalitarians start knocking on the door and say this is unfair?
It's unfair that you bought this land, cultivated it,
right?
Quadrupled, if not more, its value, and then now we want to be there too. It's like it's not how it works.
And I think the amount that it's worth more now is like astronomically more,
like 100 times.
Yeah,
more.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But that's why Mr. Boshoff is our pressure player.
Correct.
Here's a dude that's standing up for his people, non-violently, but completely committed and completely devoid of any concern for anybody else's feelings.
Yeah.
If you're on a different mission, has nothing to do with him. And talk about master morality.
Yeah. 100%.
He was about it. He was about it, and commendable.
Very cool.
So the unicorn. You may have heard of him.
Yeah.
He was played by Morgan Freeman in a movie.
He's the captain of his soul.
Is he?
Yeah.
The captain of his soul.
It's a good speech.
Nelson Mandela.
Yeah, Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela. Now, Nelson Mandela is true to his people.
Yeah.
He was not true to South Africa. The reason I say he was not true to South Africa is because South Africa was not of only his people. Nelson Mandela was a terrorist, a domestic terrorist. He was violent, savagely violent. His organization would murder women, kids. I brought it up in the interview. His wife, Winnie Mandela, was has this like infamous quote where she says, paraphrasing, our gasoline and our necklaces will liberate. No, our fire and our necklaces.
Yeah.
Will liberate our country.
Yeah. She said, did she say my necklaces?
She said our.
Our, okay.
But speaking of the people.
Yeah.
And there's a video I shared with Nelson Mandela and other black South Africans chanting some tribal song that talks about killing the whites.
Sure.
It's something that is definitely ingrained in who they are. And if it's what you know, it's what you know. But Nelson Mandela, the reason I'd make him the unicorn is he allowed the world to think that he was he and de Klerk won the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
He is not peaceful. He never was peaceful.
Well, it said, he didn't go to jail for his political views. He went to jail because he was a terrorist.
Right. And it says that he said, Gerald had said that in the books, in the school books, it teaches that Nelson Mandela went to jail because of his beliefs. And meanwhile, he was convicted for violence, including
I never
murder.
knew that. When I was little.
Right. Absolutely. And nobody does,
Yeah.
which is why it's so important to have these talks, and expose them. So Nelson Mandela, God damn it, Nelson. So he passed away. And I remember he came to America. He did like a tour years back. And he was heralded as this great, emancipator and it's bullshit.
Yeah.
It is absolutely bullshit. The South American government right now is one of the most corrupt, lopsided, just complete clusterfuck, of a government. I saw this interesting meme. Well, not a meme, it's a chart, and everything's a meme now, right?
Yeah,
it was
pretty much.
Chart showing, just as a side note, all of the presidents of South Africa, what they've spent in taxpayer money on their homes.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
And it was just this, check this out, and you look at all of the white leaders and, 100,000, 150,000, so-and-so.
How about our man Nelly?
Nelly was like $1 million.
Sure. He was like, I was in jail for
there was like two guys
years.
after him, though.
Yeah.
And the latest guy is like $200-something million.
Oh, wow.
It's like,
just went
here we
crazy.
Go. Here goes the bling.
MC Hammer.
Goes the bling.
MC Hammer's president of South Africa. And now I heard that they're making a new movie about Nelson Mandela, and Daniel Craig is going to play him. That's not.
And Charlize Theron's going to be Winnie Mandela.
Yeah, that's good.
That's what I heard. No, you can't do that because that'd be retarded. That'd be retarded.
Yeah. Idris Elba actually played Nelson Mandela in a movie.
Did he?
Yeah.
Of course he did.
But not James Bond.
But who else did he play?
Oh yeah, Hemendal.
Hemendal, the African from Asgard.
Yes, the whitest of all gods.
I'm not Asgardian. I'm African Asgardian.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. Hemendal.
Thor, you ready? Hold on, baby. I just got to get my nigga from Mid-Earth real quick. All right. So it's racist. Don't be racist.
Open the Bifrost. Right?
Son. So
anyway, Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela, I mean, he's a product. Who he is, what his legacy is a product of media. It's a product of narratives not controlled by the truth. And all it takes is me hooking up one South African native, and him breaking it down. It's like, yeah, by the way, none of that actually happened like that.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting talk, and Nelson Mandela was probably one of my chief motivations, for having the talk. It's like, yeah, let's talk about him.
Yeah.
Because he's, praised as some hero here. And I didn't think he was one, long before this. But in schools, in school when I was younger, and I'm sure it's still being, indoctrinated now in the children, he was this hero. And it was good to hear the other side of it.
Yeah.
All right, Pat.
Yeah.
We went over a bunch. Push in the bush.
Yeah, great title.
One of my favorite titles.
It's very good.
Break it down.
Awesome interview. It's funny how he's like, we always talk about, you learn things and then you relearn things. Not everything that you might know is true. Sometimes you have to dig a little deeper, find out more information. Don't just accept what is given to you at face value. And this is one of those circumstances. And to hear this interview and to hear like some of the things he said, very interesting stuff. And I like that we have brothers all over the planet that share the same ideas, same philosophy, that men are men. And as he was saying, the pansy ass, the pansy ass, there's no room for them at all, anywhere. So I like that.
Well said. So Gerald, it was great meeting him. It was great talking to him. I'm sure he and I will stay connected. It is great that, the Pressure Project has had enough success of its message being spread that we are now connecting with people around the world. As far as the talk with Gerald, a lot of universals were present. You see the parallels in what he was describing, having gone through, as a white man in South Africa, what we're seeing now here in America. A lot of similarities, a lot of universals. Even when it got to, I found it interesting that he also homeschools his kids for the same reasons that we do. And, strong men tend to resemble each other in universal ways. And I think Gerald was a great representative of that. A wealth of information he shared. And you know what? It's one of those things where I'm going to ask him to hook me up with other people in South Africa, and let me hear more of that story. Let me paint a more developed picture, for the listeners, and let me get somebody that can go ham.
Yeah.
Let me find a crazy podcast host from South Africa that wants to go ham.
Wants to go crazy.
And it's I think possible now. But I appreciate Gerald taking the time out of his schedule to help us out. It was a great talk. Thank you, folks, for listening to this episode. It's been interesting. I love having these guests. We're now developing a very eclectic, group of men, of strong men, and it's just adding more and more power, and across the globe.
Yeah,
we appreciate you guys spending the time with us. ThePressureProject.com is our website. info@ThePressureProject.com is our contact email. ThePressureProjectMembers.com is our membership site and one you should be interested in joining. So check that out. We look forward to speaking to you on the next episode. And as always, brothers, pressure to power.